Hello, everybody. Tony Gerdeman here with another edition of How is Ohio State going to replace that guy? And if you have missed the first rendition of this, basically doing something new, looking to talk about how Ohio State is going to replace all of their departed starters this season. And we've already done the first episode, which is me talking about how Ohio State is going to replace Emeka Ibuka at the slot receiver position. And if you haven't seen that one yet and you'd like to take a look at it, you can find it right here, provided I figure out how to put a link right there. If I can't figure that out, just go ahead and look at the channel and you'll find it. It says something to the effect of, how is Ohio State going to replace Emeka Ibuka? Or, can Brandon Innes replace Emeka Ibuka? And you'll find it there at the Buckeye Huddle YouTube channel. And if you're watching this for the first time, you don't know who I am. My name is Tony Gerdeman. I write for BuckeyeHuddle.com. I am also the co-host of the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes all the time. And generally I do it in written form. And so what I'm doing is taking something that I've been doing in written form, putting it in video form. And today I want to talk about how Ohio State is going to replace Cody Simon, their middle linebacker, a 5-year letter winner at Ohio State, one of the rare 5-year letter winners. And you're not going to, well, I was going to say, you're not going to see that much longer, but pretty soon everybody's going to have 5 years. So you might see it basically all the time moving forward. But Cody Simon is a guy who came into Ohio State, the 2020 recruiting class, the COVID class, played some games, and then was actually the starting middle linebacker in 2021 as a true sophomore, and eventually gave way to Tommy Eichenberg, who started in 2022 and 2023. And so Cody Simon kind of went into the background a little bit, but not entirely, because he still played. He still was a key part of the 2022 defense and the 2023 defense. And then coming into this season for the Buckeyes, this past season, 2024 for the Buckeyes, there's really very little concern that he was going to be able to handle the responsibilities of being the team's middle linebacker, and not just the team's middle linebacker, but the middle linebacker at Ohio State, which means more than it does, I think, in most places. And so Cody Simon picked it up, was the leader of the defense, was the blocko wearer of the defense, of the entire team, which gives you an even greater understanding of not just what he brought to the defense, but what he brought to the team. He led the Buckeyes with 112 tackles in 15 games last year. He missed the season opener. And the season opener was actually started at middle linebacker by Sonny Styles in his first true game as a linebacker. But Cody Simon, 112 tackles this past year, 12 and a half tackles for loss, 7 sacks, was a sure tackler, was able to be used aggressively in the second half of the season when it came to blitzing, and he was an effective blitzer and got to the quarterback, as you see with the 7 sacks. And so this is a guy who was tremendous leader, fantastic tackler, a guy that everybody could rely on and ask, like, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? What was the call? All of those things. Really good communicator, got everybody where they needed to be. So not only is Ohio State looking to replace your starting middle linebacker, basically your starting quarterback on defense, leader, a guy that is reliable, gets everybody in the right position. These are all things. It's not just the guy that has to play in the middle and make tackles. It's so much more than that. And it's a lot to replace. So who are the candidates to do so? Well, you had Arvell Reese, who stepped up last year, this past season, 2024, and I'll say last year, and I'm talking 2024, as a true sophomore who came to Ohio State as a linebacker, was almost immediately moved to defensive end. Then he got hurt, and then really never heard from him. I don't think he played any snaps on defense as a true freshman. Then kind of emerged in camp and moved past Gabe Powers, who was a junior this past season, a redshirt sophomore. And so Arvell Reese already moving past him. That's one of the reasons Gabe Powers ended up going into the transfer portal and transferring out. But Arvell Reese this past season, 43 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, was an impact player, even had a spot start in there as well, was the guy that they could turn to when they wanted to play 3 linebackers. he gave them that depth as that third linebacker, whether it was, at Mike or, other guys could move around, play Sam, play Will, that sort of thing. So he has that experience, and he is kind of like the next guy up. Not kind of, he is the next guy up at this moment. Sonny Styles has also played middle linebacker. He blossomed as the Will this past season. I would expect him to stay at Will, but he is also a possibility. Payton Pierce last year was a true freshman last year, played Will, studied Will, is probably headed towards Mike. That is his expectation, and wrote about him a little bit at BuckeyeHuddle.com last week or so, and you can find that there. But he is expecting to play more middle linebacker this year, and he could be the backup or Arvell Reese this season. And the thing is, if you're the backup middle linebacker, as we saw last year, that means you're going to play a lot. And as we saw the year before that with Cody Simon backing up Tommy Eichenberg, like these guys will play a lot, especially with the 15, 16, 17 game season. So there is the opportunity for the backup to put up numbers like Arvell Reese did last year, 43 tackles. Linebackers coach James Laurinaitis brought in 3 linebackers in the 2025 recruiting class in Ohio and Eli Lee, Floridian TJ Alford, and Texan Riley Pettyjohn. And really, they're all active, physical guys who could end up at middle linebacker. Eli Lee is projected to be at that spot, but that doesn't preclude anybody else from being there because the Mike and the Will in a 4-2-5 defense are ideally interchangeable. Now, the question is, we're talking about these players as if they're still playing in Jim Knowles' defensive system, but Jim Knowles' defensive system is now off to Happy Valley in Penn State. So what does Matt Patricia's defensive system look like? Well, it's not going to look that much different because you still have to work with the players that you have. And that's something that any good coach will tell you. You're not going to try to change everything based on one guy coming in and redoing everything. You've got to deal with what you've got. And what they've got is, a really good recruiting class, but then also, not a large number of linebackers. So, you'll do what you have, you do what you've got with those guys. And, there's talk about maybe more odd fronts, maybe more 3 linebacker sets. They want versatility with their linebackers. So they've got that, they've added that. But in terms of the middle linebacker replacing Cody Simon, we will see this spring, like everybody's going to get an opportunity. They'll rotate, they'll do some cross training. Matt Patricia is going to want to see everything he can from these guys. And really, Sonny Styles will get probably a pretty easy spring. Nobody else played enough that is returning at linebacker to give them the kind of break that a Sonny Styles would need. So Arvell Reese, Payton Pierce, Garrett Stover, Eli Lee, TJ Alford, Riley Pettyjohn, like all of these guys will be out there. They'll be playing, they'll be moving around. They'll be playing Will, Mike, Sam, just getting a look, because you can do that sort of thing in spring. But then after spring, you got the summer and then fall camp. And if you're asking me right now, who's going to be Ohio State's starting middle linebacker, I'm going to go with the heavy favorite, and that's Arvell Reese. And he's big enough to handle it. He showed that he can run sideline to sideline. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. He looks like you'd like your middle linebacker to look, and he can run. So he had a heck of a first year. I say first year last year at linebacker behind Cody Simon, learning from Cody Simon, learning from James Laurinaitis. And the fact that he was able to do what he did last year in his truly first full year at linebacker at Ohio State gives you a pretty good indication, like he could really blossom. He could really blow up. So I think that's your best bet for the starting middle linebacker at Ohio State this year. I'm not speaking out of turn on that. Like, I don't know that anybody's going to pick anybody else, but, so there you go. I think that's how you're going to replace Cody Simon, at least on the field. How do you replace him off the field? That's a culture thing, and that's going to take the entire team and the entire network to do that. But, they've got some good pieces there. So I would expect them to be able to handle it. They will need to find a new block O guy, and they'll have no shortage of candidates. So there you go. That's there's my pick to go ahead and replace Cody Simon, take that spot as the Buckeyes' new middle linebacker, Arvell Reese. I do appreciate the feedback on the first video. I'm reading it, I'm looking at it, I'm listening. Go ahead and throw in your thoughts and your comments on this video as well. I'll see it, and we can talk it out there. And go ahead and your thoughts on the position, the position battle, what you want to see next, anything else that you want to see in videos like this. We'll take a look at it. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.